It's Toon Tactics TV. It's our pre-game preview. Newcastle versus Bournemouth. It's Eddie Howe's unstoppable force versus Areola's unmovable object. Who will come out on top and who will be sent home packing? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV. Right, so let's get right into it. I've got the lineups. I'm going to be going through the various kind of tactical breakdown, the strengths and weaknesses of each team, where I think there'll be benefits and advantages and disadvantages in certain parts of the game, especially phases of play, and who the key players will be, who will be the key duels, 1v1s in this game, and give you folks a final game prediction. But before I do that, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. We did a live show, our fourth live show, but my first ever by myself a couple of days ago. It was fantastic views, had incredible chats. It was really, really good stuff. So let me know, folks, if you want to do these tactical shows, these pre-game previews in person. I will be more than happy to do so. So let's get right into it. Now, obviously, I'm gonna first just quickly go on to the Bournemouth. They play typically a 4-2-3-1 formation, though that can turn into a 4-1-4-1, 4-3-2-4-2-3-1. Yeah, 4-4-1-4-1 formation when they're attacking. Hope I got the numbers right there. High pressing team, press all over the place, and you guys will show that. Before I go too deep into them, you'll see my lineup is a typical 4-3-3 for Newcastle United, and obviously these are just how it looks on the formation side. How it actually plays out in the field is totally different. Now, the only thing I'm sure some of you will notice is who is going to play in Shaw's position, and I've put Dan Burn at right centre back, and I've put Lloyd Kelly at left centre back. And I know some of you will already be saying, how can you put a left-footed player in a right centre back position? Don't you know you can't get the passing angles right? You got to be communicating even more. It's going to cause confusion. I understand. And I'm going to take all that on board. But as I go through the preview, this tactical preview, guys, I hope you can see why I think Dan Burn instead of Mr. Kraft will go into that position, and Lloyd Kelly will come in. Right, so tactical preview. I don't want to scare you guys. I got a whole load of I'm not scaring you, but I'll get into I'm going to highlight some phases of play that I think will be most important. First of all, and I'm going to go through the 4-2-3-1 formation that Bournemouth are going to use, the kind of the tactical breakdown, and obviously they use the 4-2-3-1. Typically, why do I was hoping to highlight this, but it's hiding behind the screen. It is hiding behind the screen. So let me see if I can zoom into it here. Here we go. All right, bang. So typically, why managers like Areola like the 4-2-3-1, here it is obviously in the blue, is if you guys can see right here, this goes from right to left, so defense to attack. If you focus in on the midfield at 8 and 6, you can see that the space between the midfield and the defense, the midfield and the attack is very, very small. So it allows both the midfield to get back in a lot more easier to help with the defense, but also helps the defense connect to the attack, and the midfield to also obviously the midfield to connect to the attack. Excuse me. So it is partly the reason why Bournemouth are such a good counter-pressing team. The other thing is obviously with a 4-2-3-1, going back to it, is if you look at, I've got to get this up there as well. Here we go. If you look at if I can put it a bit closer, here we go. It highlighted in red, and I'm going to highlight in the description, guys. The folks that put these things up is fantastic. That's the attack. So Bournemouth will always have four players up in attack, which makes them so dangerous, not only when they're building up from play, but obviously also when they're counter-attacking. So the 4-2-3-1, especially when you can connect the midfield with defense, the midfield with the attack so quickly, the space is a lot more smaller. It makes Bournemouth a very dangerous side at any time during the game. And we would know that because obviously in the previous game we drew 2-2 at St. James's Park, but the game before that, a very flat Newcastle United got beaten comprehensively by Bournemouth 2-0. And speaking of, and this is I spoke to you guys in terms of covering the space here. And speaking of Bournemouth's press, this comes from Kev Lawson's article. Big up Kev Lawson. I think he released his pre-game preview on his article, which I'm a subscriber of. You guys should be a subscriber of, and also hook onto his ex Twitter as well, Mr. Kev Lawson. Kev Lawson, brilliant tactical analyst. So this is from his website, and this is what it shows us where Bournemouth primarily cover the spaces on the pitch. So the hotter or the redder you can see it, the more that's where the spaces that they mainly cover, that they mainly dispute, that they mainly fight for all over the pitch. Obviously, you can see the grayish, whitish parts towards the goals is left out, but it's the center. It's like this volcano of orange there. That's where Bournemouth concentrate most of their action, and it's going to be that midfield area that they're going to fight for and compete for very much so. When you've got a two midfield pivot of the 8 and 6 that I showed you guys, it's no wonder why that place is particularly hot. That place is particularly contested, and this brings me on to already one of my concerns for Newcastle when they go into this game, and that is our lack of ability recently of playing from out the back. And I don't know whether that's because teams have figured us out, we are lacking technical quality. I feel, and you guys let me know what you think, that when we go into especially smaller pitches, i.e. Luton, it was Bournemouth, Chelsea, where we can't use our strengths, which is to spread the play. We've got athleticism, we've got runners. When we play on slightly smaller pitches where you're going to need it, where the spaces are smaller, there is obviously a lot. It's a lot more condensed. You need your technical ability to break through press and everything else. Newcastle suffer. You can see here, for instance, if you can imagine, Bournemouth are in the blue. They're in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Newcastle are in the yellow and black. And you can see the number 5's got the ball here. And in this case, this is what I'm talking about, why I would want Burn and Lloyd Kelly rather than Burn and Kraft. When Bournemouth here in blue are pressing, and like I said to you, the pitch is smaller. Bournemouth have a really high turnover rate, especially final third turnover rate. A fantastic counter-pressing team, a fantastic pressing team, and press really, really well in a coordinated style. When they get it right, they really, really get it right. Well, if you've got a Kraft on the ball, if they force it with Kraft on the ball, Burns on the ball, and I know that Burns is decent on the ball, but he does not like passing through the channels, very, very risk averse. That is where we could be losing the ball. Now, we're going to go further on because there are antidotes for that Eddie Howe could use in terms of Newcastle building from out the back. But areas of strength in terms of this tactical breakdown, I'll show on this really quickly. If when obviously again continuing to match up the 4-2-3-1 of Bournemouth with the 4-3-3 of Newcastle. When you the good thing about the formations is it obviously highlighted them. The only part of the pitch, if you can see high in the boxes, either side. Obviously, again, Newcastle in yellow and gold, Bournemouth in the blue. If you can see the box with the strikers, the number 9, 5, and 4, that's the only places where you find a numerical disadvantage for both Newcastle and for Bournemouth. So you can imagine Isak will be obviously one versus 2 in defenses, and on the other side, whether it be Semedo or even Nielsen for Bournemouth, they'll be against the 2 of our centre backs. But everywhere else on the pitch, you can see there on the wing backs, left and right wing backs, the midfield, there is 1v1 situation, and that's where I think will be one of the advantages for Newcastle, because I think we've got better quality of players and better athletes, but only just and only in some parts of the pitch. I've mentioned Semedo, I've mentioned Ivan Nielsen, guys with athleticism, pace, power, Tavernier as well. So there's a lot to be considered for. So when I say that, but I do fancy us overall in the 1v1 situations. Going back to the build-up play, and my concerns over that, and some of the antidotes that Mr. Howe could use is having Mr. Bruno Gomes dropping in either, and you can see here again, Newcastle in the yellow and black, going from left to right on your screens against the blue, which represents Bournemouth. You can see, and it's in number 4 here. You can see the number 4 has the ball, but it will be obviously Mr. Bruno dropping in between the fullbacks. So if that's the case, dropping in with the fullbacks, and then you can have your Lewis Halls, for instance, from the left back position. You can see that's the number 3 tucking into the midfield, and so you then still got the 3 at the back, but obviously Bruno in the middle and Lewis Hall filling in his position. Both very good technically, but also the numerical numbers in the center of the midfield maintain themselves, and you can have Gordon and Murphy either on obviously kind of pinning the Bournemouth wing backs back by staying out wide, so you can still build up from the back that way. You've got a technical quality of Bruno, who's able to bring out the ball, whether bring out the ball through take-ons or through passing in the channels. Bruno can't do that all the time. You do want him in the middle of your midfield. You do want him to also be able to be a bit more further up and be able to dictate play. The other thing is I want to be able to say is that part of Bournemouth's strategy, especially in games, I think the 4-2-3-1 formation that we spoke about can be a little bit deceptive, because as I mentioned, what Bournemouth really like to do is they like to get their wingers to join into the midfield, so that 4-2-3-1 then changes into a 4-1-4-1, trying to give them that numerical advantage, particularly when they're pressing the other team. So what they're trying to do in the press, not just press for the sake, is very coordinated. They primarily want to be able to press the teams, or counter press, especially the teams on the wings. So if they get if either Gordon or Jacob Murphy get onto the ball and they try to get to the byline, there's a trap that is set for them that allows Bournemouth to get the ball, get it quickly into the midfield. We've seen how close the midfield is to the defense, and the midfield. The defense is close to the midfield is closer to the attack, and allows Bournemouth to counter-attack really, really quickly. So in this example, as you can see before yourself, what can Newcastle do? One of the things that Newcastle can do is use their forwards, right wing, left wing forward, Gordon and Jacob Murphy in this instance, as decoys. So if you look here, Newcastle again going from left to right, in the yellow and black. You can see here that in this position, right on the bottom right of the squad, the number 2 there, which I think would be Livramento, has the ball, and the number 7 will be Jacob Murphy. The idea being, and that would have seen just before that, is if Bruno there in the number 6 has the ball, he passes it out onto Jacob Murphy, the number 7. You can then see the number 6, 7, and 3 in blue surrounding Jacob Murphy and trying to get the ball. But if Jacob Murphy obviously passes it back to Bruno or does a one-touch straight to Livramento, for instance, it opens up that space for just before that. If it gets it, just short passing, if Bruno and Jacob Murphy are able to lure the trap and then leave that space in behind the left backs of Bournemouth and the wing of Bournemouth, and the overlap from Livramento can then allow you see Livramento, going into that space and Bruno setting it off to him, maybe Jacob Murphy, maybe Sean Longstaff in this instance. There's a clear space, there's a clear run for Livramento to run into that space. If there is an antidote to that, if Eddie Howe, which I'm sure he is aware that one of those traps that Bournemouth love to set is to get that ball onto the wings so they can get it back from the defense, from the opposition, and spring the attack. Going back to the other dangers of Bournemouth being able to counter press, and they have a very, very good counter press there. Like I said, they are very coordinated in their press. They've got it down. They're getting it down to a T. I know, especially in the last 3 or 4, 5 games of last season, they did not. Oh, my phone is going off. They were not able to. They lost a few games, but this is a new season and a new time. So, guys, if you can see on my screen here, this is a situation that could be really, really, really bad for Newcastle. As I mentioned earlier, Bournemouth always got those 3 strikers up front. And in this instance, again, going from right to left this time, in the blue, Bournemouth going from right to left, they've got the ball. How did they get the ball? Say, you see number 6 there, Bruno tried to pass the ball off to Jacob Murphy there in the 10, or in the 7, or try to pass it off onto either Jacob Murphy or Sean Longstaff there, and Bournemouth were able to intercept those two. The number 8 and the number 11 spring forward into the attack. You've already got the number 9 there. It could be Semedo, it could be Ivan Nilsson, who's got Champions League experience from Porto, an accomplished player. You've now got a situation, you've got a 3-on-3 or 3-on-2. And this goes back to me saying why Lloyd Kelly would be very good in these kind of situations. His athleticism, his ability in 1v1 defending, and his pace, he can at least either slow down the counter-attack or intercept and get the ball all together. And again, shout out to Mr. Kev Lawson. He had a slightly different reason in his article to having Kelly, and it was for this particular reason. Actually, it was be able to counteract the pace and the power of Bournemouth in the attack, and having an athletic centre back in Lloyd Kelly to be able to counteract that. I, on the other hand, would also want, and added to that, actually not on the other hand, but added to that, would want Lloyd Kelly in us being able to play the ball out from out the back, use technical ability to pass through the channels, do them long diagonal balls, and set Newcastle onto the attack. Both teams in Newcastle and Bournemouth are very, very direct in their play. They do vertical play, i.e. very much straight down, not too much side to side intricate passing on play, but very much direct they can go from defense into attack very, very quickly. In fact, one of their aims is to pass, is to bypass the midfield and go straight into the attack and back their pacey forwards and Semedo and others to win. And this goes straight to our key battles and key players. I've put Semedo against Lloyd Kelly. In my lineup, Lloyd Kelly will be playing. Those will be those key matchups, those key plays. Kelly being able to deal with Semedo or even Nelson, uses pace against them, but also Kelly being able to play the ball out from the attack, and the responsibility of Semedo and even Nilsson, for instance, to be able to close him down. I've got Alex Scott here from midfield. a really nice midfielder, really good midfielder against Joe Linton. Can Joe Linton's physicality and overall just athletic dominance stop Alex Scott, one of their key players, one of their key number 8s? We talked about how the number 8s are you know, kind of are intricate to Bournemouth's defensive and attacking play. Can Joe Linton in 1v1 duels in particular dominate Mr. Scott out of play and give Newcastle that midfield dominance that they'll need away at the Vitality Stadium? And the last one, and this I'll admit, was highlighted by Mr. Lawson, Kev Lawson. Again, go subscribe onto him. Was on the left wing side of Gordon versus Christie. Christie is like, no, excuse me, Gordon versus Smith. Smith is about 33 years old. Can the athleticism of Gordon and his pace overcome a 30-year-old Smith? Can he wear him down? I think he can, even though I know they didn't have the greatest game. Or he had a decent, when I watched him back, he had a decent game against Southampton. Can he have a better, even better game against Bournemouth? I think he can. But I wonder also if, same way as I described to you earlier, how Jacob Murphy was used as the decoy and allowed the overlapping run, can the same be done with Gordon and Lewis Hall? There might be an expectancy from the Bournemouth players that Gordon gets the ball head down and tries to use his pace to bypass them, and they can use it as a trap. But instead, he does short passes with your Bruno Gomeres's, he does short passes with your Lloyd Kelly's, for instance, and you can see Mr. Hall doing the overlapping runs and running behind, getting into the pox, doing the cutbacks. I wonder if that would be even a better decoy than it would be with Jacob Murphy. So we've come to the end there. I'm going to give my predictions, and like I said, really intriguing tactical battle, very intense. It's going to be a very intense tactical battle in my view between Areola's Bournemouth and Eddie Howe's Newcastle United. And look, again, as I've said before, I feel my main concern for Newcastle is our technical ability on the ball, especially recently. We have not been keeping the ball as well as we should be. We have not been playing out the back as well as we should be. And obviously now Shaw being out for 3 games to disciplinary action makes it even more like we're lessened even further without his ability on the ball. He's almost ball-footed essentially, as Hal pointed out today in the press conference. Left foot, right foot, short pass, long pass. He's an incredible weapon for us, and not having him is going to be a hindrance. Hence why I think Lloyd Kelly will be used and Mr. Byrne will go into right centre-back. That's just my take. It might be Kraft, and we keep it same as same as in terms of Kraft, Byrne, Hall, and Livramento. But I wonder what Howe is going to do about the pace of Bournemouth's counter-attack. I wonder what Howe's going to do in terms of Newcastle's build-up play. Bruno Gomeres is going to be the vocal point. Bournemouth are going to know that. They're going to try to trap him, and they're going to try to hold him. At least with Lloyd Kelly, you've got an extra person with quality on the ball who can break the lines, who can take on forwards, get past them as well, and you can use him too. So, score predictions. And before I give it, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let folks know about the show, and send in your score predictions, and let me know what your tactical battles, what your kind of tactical breakdown of the game would be. I'm going to back Newcastle to win this game 2-1. I'm hoping that the same grit and determination that we showed against Southampton with 10 men, despite our lack of technical ability, will also prevail in the Vitality Stadium against Bournemouth. I'm hoping that Newcastle, and I believe that Eddie Howe's tactics and strategy will focus on our strength and our physical dominance in key areas. As we mentioned earlier, Gordon against Smith, for instance, Joe Linton against Scott in that example, and hopefully if he plays Lloyd Kelly against Semedo. And I believe our firing power in Isak, Gordon, and Joe Linton, well, I'll say Joe Linton now as a scorer, will put us through. But let me know what you guys think. My scorers for the game, by the way, are I'm gonna say I think I don't know why, but I think Sean Longstaff's gonna score. I think he's gonna score from a cutback, and and I think it would be our midfield again. I think it'd be Sean Longstaff and Joe Linton who score for us. So let me know what your predictions are for the game. Who your goal scorers, who your assists, what do you think will happen? And until next time, guys, as always, take care and God bless, folks. We are over and out. Where's my credit screen?
Brilliant from Cher. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Cher.